On the occasions that I do go to church, I typically skip that portion of the, like I skip praise and worship.
Ruslan.
Kanye talked about the healing frequencies in gospel music. Do you think there are certain genres of music like gospel? Because I definitely feel it. I listen to, I play that new Kirk Franklin album a lot. And I don't know if it's the mixing or just the chords and the vibe of those records, but there definitely seems to be, between Kirk and Fred, that something about black gospel music definitely uplifts my spirit. Like, do you think that that's a frequency thing, and is there a way to manipulate, again, some of those frequencies that maybe we don't do that in hip hop, but that's why gospel music makes us feel more hopeful?
100%, man. When I go to, on the occasions that I do go to church, I typically skip that portion of the, like I skip praise and worship. And I deliberately come when it's time to hear the word. And I do that because I feel like there are way too many churches that utilize music to get a result from people, right? So I think it's used to manipulate people, and I can't stand watching that and being a part of it, because when I'm there, I can't turn that part of me off. So I can see it. I can hear it, and I can feel it. But yeah.
And you could probably hear it from a whole, because you're probably understanding what those tones are doing to somebody's emotions and stirring their heart. You know, I heard a pastor named Pastor Stephen Furtick, then someone challenged him on that. They were like, well, your services are too emotional, right? You're trying to like emotionally manipulate. This was a debate he was having with Matt Chandler, who's, anyway, two different camps, two different ways of doing things. And he and Pastor Stephen Furtick said something interesting, and it stuck with me. And he said, well, why do we feel like we can't speak to someone's emotions? He was like, you're a whole person, so mind, body, soul, you know what I mean? So yeah, we do intentionally want to speak to somebody's emotions through the music, and then we're going to speak to your mind, you know what I mean? And then your spirit with the gospel and all that kind of stuff. So I always thought that was an interesting point. I'm unfortunate, well, I don't know if it's unfortunately, but I'm like you. I tend to skip praise and worship because I just don't like the mix.
No, it's a real thing, man. It's a real thing. But those, you know, those chords and those harmonies, if you listen to, I'm a big fan of Take 6. If you listen to, I want to say it's Take 6. My father, one of the only places where my father and I agreed, my natural father and I agreed, was on this band. And they're just an a cappella group, right? And so the way that it's like a barbershop quartet kind of thing, the way that they utilize these frequencies, there is no way you can listen to this music and not come out the other side of listening to one of their songs feeling completely different. There's just no way. And gospel music is very old. It comes from, you know, African tradition. And so all those things are ingrained in it. But I do think that it does get utilized in ways that I don't approve of. So,
and our church, our I'm guessing our church experiences are probably different too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like I'm friends with my pastor. I'm friends with a lot of pastors. So maybe there's some different worlds there where I'm like, yeah, I mean, if it empowers and inspires somebody, I don't have a problem with the music being that, because I willfully do it every morning, intentionally listening to Kirk and Fred Hammond on my way to the gym, and that puts me in the mental state to, okay, now I'm gonna make my day count. I'm gonna crush it because I'm filled with the energy and the vibe. Man, we oh, that was on. Yeah. Anyway, I had the camera on you. We got deep. That was deep, man. That was some good stuff. Any final like thoughts in terms of just tips, advice you have for engineers, excuse me, not engineers, for rappers and artists who want to be engineers, and how, like, you know, at what, like any final advice and thoughts do you have for them?
Yeah, so one of the things that I focus on when we're talking about sound essentials, like the reason why I do that class is because in working with a lot of academia around education for engineers and producers, one of the things that I've noticed is that there's a huge emphasis on techniques, and there's very minimal emphasis on the way that you hear and perceive sound. And there's a huge disconnect there. So if you're a producer or an engineer, my advice, whether it's through working with me or somebody else, is to really not undervalue the importance of really focusing on the way that you perceive sound and understand sound from a psychological and spiritual place, because your brain perceives sound very differently sometimes than it actually is, and it's important for you to understand the way the human brain interacts with audio versus the way a dog's brain interacts with audio, the range of hearing that we have, and why certain things affect other things. Like, especially for producers, like why one group of frequencies impacts another group of frequencies so much. And a lot of that has to do with the way that you perceive sound as a human being. And then culturally, how you perceive sound. Yeah. So I would say the biggest advice that I have is to not skip that part. It's boring, bruh. I get it's boring, bruh. But you got to spend some time.
This is literally what we did in Recording Arts 1. You know what I'm saying? This is the kind of stuff we talked about, and that there was what you're talking about, and wrapping cables correctly.
John will tell you, bro.
The wrapping cables correctly. Oh, you could not pass Recording Arts 1 if you couldn't wrap a cable correctly.
That's big facts. The same way with these guys, bro. I'm a super. You look at our cables now. You know what I'm saying?
They're very nice.
The whole thing.
Would you say that is more important? I think it is more important. I think we'd agree that that's probably more important than the converters that you have on your interface, or the type of cable you're using, or the type of mic you're using, is that you're actually understanding the bigger picture of sound.
Absolutely. I'm recording. I'm mixing and recording on equipment most of the time that is professional, but it's mostly entry-level professional or intermediate-level professional. It's not like I'm in here with a $40,000 pair of Aspergers. You know what I'm saying? So, or set of Aspergers. My understanding of sound and frequencies is what causes me to be able to compete with all of these high-level mixers.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
That's good. I mean, and it's like the whole Ali mixes on that little baritone mono speaker 80% of the time. You know what I'm saying? Because there's an understanding of the bigger picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he does all of his. So he'll like start a record and deal with the drums that way in a mono because you're not listening to left and right. It's kind of if you would imagine, up and down. So he starts out with that kind of thing, then switches into stereo, checks it, goes back to mono. Then we'll add the, check it against the vocal as well to make sure the vocal sits in a good pocket, and just kind of goes back and forth. So yeah, he spends a lot of time in the mono, and then, finishes up in the stereo. Yeah, for sure.
Man, thank you so much, bro. I feel educated and enlightened from this conversation. How can they get a hold of you if they want to reach out? Instagram, we'll link all that stuff below. Do you have a website or anything like that where they can get a hold of these classes, these classes that you're talking about?
We're building one right now. Just DM me on IG. It's Amon Jackson on everything. AMOND Jackson on any social media platform, and there's an AmonJackson.com, which is still in its landing page stage. But yeah, just DM me. Let me know that you're interested in coming to the class. And
you're in Atlanta. He's in Atlanta, by the way.
Yep, we're gonna do an online course eventually, but I just want that to be done right. So that's gonna take some time.
Gotcha.
But yeah, if you're here in Atlanta and you want to come out, then shoot me a DM. We'll get your registration fee, get you the registration online form, and get you set up. And that's pretty much it. And I appreciate you coming out, man. And I've been waiting to link with you for a while.
Yeah, man. I'm glad we was able to do this. It's like I got a lot out of today on so many levels, man. So thank you for letting us use this dope studio.
You got it, brother. Anytime, man.
Yo, make sure you guys are following Ahmad on all platforms. Stay locked in. If you're in the Atlanta area, reach out to this brother, man. He's super down to earth, super cool. And he has a heart for the arts. He has a heart for music and just getting stuff to sound right. So, yeah, make sure